Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first commercial real estate book club. We are going to be talking about fanatical prospecting. It's going to be a mixture of my background, what I do. I get paid for cold calling as part of my commercial real estate ecosphere, and then also some of the points that resonated with me in this book. So let's get started. And I will be giving a full copy of the presentation slides to everyone, and we will be posting the recorded webinar on our SoCal CCIM chapter. So it'll be there for you to share, to review, and check in again. All right, let's get started. So we're going to hit some different topics. This is kind of jam-packed. I'm hoping I pace this really well so everybody gets something practical out of it. I'll be talking about my background, my experience, cold calling myths and truths, breaking free from fear and frustration, the daily routine of time blocking, and certain truths I want to go over, and what is fanatical prospecting. The book has a lot of different aspects. It goes really deep, but we're just going to touch on a few points. And then I will provide a Q&A or ask me anything section. And then after that, I'll just go over some chapter administrative business with our SoCal CCIM chapter with upcoming events. So let's get started. Basically, I had a whole life before I entered commercial real estate. I worked at Arthur Andersen in Metro New York. I was a public accountant and auditor. I used to audit Fortune 500, 1,000 companies. I used to catch controllers stealing money, IT people colluding, and that was as a bumbling 21-year-old. Okay, so that's that. And then that kind of led me on a path to do accounting finance. And one of them was I landed at an X-ray bomb detection manufacturing company. And it was probably about 400 people. I was like the number 3 person there. We had manufacturing facilities in Long Beach, the UK, and France. So I worked for the CFO. I was his right arm. And one of the special projects they gave me was to get 20 hijacked X-ray bomb detection machines that were going to be auctioned off at customs. And so I had to cold call P&O, Ned Lloyd, and Maersk. And these are huge companies, and I have no connections there. But anyway, there's a whole long detailed story about how I was able to get the machines back and basically convince some of the people there, the decision makers, that what I was telling them was the truth. And these were our machines. Another aspect of EG&G astrophysics was one time the general manager was like, we're so behind. We have so many bad debts and people aren't paying. And Nestle was one of them. And it was like in the winter months. And when I called Nestle to get our $110,000 check for a food X-ray machine, their whole accounting department was out sick. So I had to convince their legal team who I was, why I was making the request for them to pay us the check, and they FedExed it to me. So I just found that being persuasive over the phone, you got to have passion. And then in my early years in commercial real estate, part of the interview process at CBRE is they run you around for 3 months telling you who you have to meet, who you have to talk to, but they give you no help in creating these appointments. And so I had to run around and break into people's schedule and get on their calendar and have them give me about a half hour of their time for an interview. And then I had to report back to the managing director that was kind of controlling this. And that was there for them to prove that I had persistence. I was able to make cold calls and things. One of the teams I was on in the Ontario office at CBRE was they were building new business, and they had me cold calling 1,000 calls per day. I was not allowed to go to the restroom until I made 250 calls. Then I wasn't allowed to go to lunch until I made another 250 calls. And so it went on throughout the whole day. At the time, I just accepted as I thought this was how commercial real estate works. But in retrospect, I think I was being abused. So that's how I got trained. I did the hard thing first, and it is what it is. And then I moved on to corporate representation services, tenant rep. And one of my most unusual outbound calls was to Pioneer Electronics. I left a voicemail about potentially subleasing a 5,000 square foot space in their office or their warehouse. They had a few different locations. The VP of finance got that voicemail. She called me, and it turned into a very unusual relationship. First of all, their broker had just passed away. So I picked up business that way. And then the other thing was she had multiple needs out of state in San Diego. There were lease terminations that had to be done, subleasing activity. And then ultimately it got to me to the point where from that one cold call, I was able to do their corporate office renewal, 135,000 square feet, and then also sell their 180,000 square foot industrial building in Pomona. And this was their plasma manufacturing. And this was all from a single voicemail. So it tells you the effectiveness and the power of cold calling. Now, currently, there's an aspect of my real estate business where I work with developers and I get paid to cold call, skip trace, and connect to decision makers and create deals. I'm like the starting point of a deal. And then I've also been engaged to be a fixer with just a recent example is the sellers were already in escrow with a developer. He was running into trouble, needed more time. He needed to add 3 more years to the escrow. So it was my job to convince these 5 Korean sellers that this was a good thing and, you know, they should approve this. And apparently he didn't really have enough in the relationship bank with these people. And so I had to figure out who was the person of influence and who I could convince that this would be a good thing for them. So, you know, I do that on a regular basis. And if I look back at my history, I have been doing that throughout the years for different reasons. So that's just a little bit about where my experience for cold calling comes from. Now, there are lower level truths and higher level truths. You know, everybody knows that, you know, if you're out in the streets in traffic, you're not supposed to do a U-turn in certain areas and stuff. But if a crime is happening and there's a police car, they will overrule that law and do what they need to do to go save somebody or stop a crime. And that's how cold calling works. There are lower level truths. Okay, cold calling sucks. It's full of rejection. I'm so much better in person. Yes, all these things are true, but let me challenge you. There are higher level truths, truths that overcome these lower level truths. Not making money really sucks. That's a higher level truth. The path that you've chosen to be in commercial real estate is a path full of rejection. It's like 98, 99% rejection. So if that's the path that you've chosen, rejection, cold calling, all of this is normal. So I was told by my senior brokers to just suck it up. And then if we want to reframe our minds, so let's think in the reverse. If you didn't cold call and you were expecting that CEO or CFO to call you, I think you would need about $1 million in marketing budget to generate brand awareness to create that inbound call. So in my eyes, it's highly unlikely that CEO will think of you and think to call you out of the blue. So that's why cold calling is essential. You have to make the outbound call. You have to do it, not somebody else. Now, I've tried to hire and train assistants and junior brokers, and they've always complained, you know, I just get rejected. Nobody wants to meet with me, all this stuff, every excuse in the book. What they don't understand is on the other side of that call, when you do find the right client or the client that's a fit for the service you're offering, there could be 60,000, 120,000, or a $300,000 deal on the other side of that phone. And I've gotten into conversations with prospects where they're elderly, they're bored, and it turns into like hearing about their life story, receiving wisdom about their own real estate career and how they got to where they're at. So some of them have been as long as 40 minutes. So in the 40 minutes, I'm gathering information. And then I've also had reactions where people are like, I'm so glad you called. I was expecting your call. And I was like, that's amazing. And so we just laugh that off and we start going into it. The other thing I think I offer that's different than most people when they are cold calling is I offer a moment of joy. I use humor to disarm people, especially receptionists and gatekeepers. So when I get them, you know, something in their voice reminds me of an actor, I'll comment on it. Or if they've given me a little bit more time to explain what I want, you know, I'll thank them before I end the call. I'm like, thank you for giving me 2.5 more seconds than the last receptionist. And usually they'd laugh it off and it creates some kind of bond or connection. And I honestly think you can be the superhero in someone's life. So when that happens, it's kind of invigorating and it pushes you to do more cold calling. Now, I have a value proposition that is, I basically focus on cost reduction services. I either save people money or put them in a better position and maximize their position. But I start off with cost reduction services. I grew up middle class. My parents were very frugal. They had a war mentality. They grew up during the war. So that's what I run off of. And when I'm in a position to help someone, to be of service to others, the fire, the passion in my belly, it just totally gets turned on. And I always think in the back of my mind, when I'm calling someone, it would be in their best interest to work with me instead of somebody else, another broker who might take advantage of them and not take as good of care of them. So these are the things that are kind of going on in my mind. So to break free from fear, frustration that you have that's holding you back, you have to realize anything hard can become easy. If you take inventory of your life and anything that you're good at, anything where you excel, it's because you spent countless hours and much repetition doing it over and over again to the point where now you could do it with your eyes closed and your hands tied behind your back. And just know that anything uncomfortable you can get comfortable with, you know. Networking, when you walk into a room full of strangers, aren't we all comfortable reaching out to someone, asking them why they're there, what they do? What are they focused on? Who are they looking to meet? You know, just getting that conversation going. This is the same thing, but it's over the phone. And whatever you think is important, you're going to do daily. Okay. I know some people that religiously go to the gym at 5 a.m. in the morning because they think that's important. I have people that only eat organic and they think that's important. So they will preach about it. They'll talk about it. They'll do that every day. And one thing that I learned is focus on the future first. Every day, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, I consider that a golden hour. Focus on future clients first, okay? You go find your next client, you gather information, you do whatever you can, but in those 2 hours, you've got to cut out the distractions. Do not go on social media and do not start checking your inbox and organizing your emails and clearing your inbox. Every day, just cold call, okay? And then what you want to do is develop time blocking habits. And I'll show you on the next slide what that means. So time blocking, if you've never heard of this before, it's a brain dump. It's like a brainstorm of everything you've got on your mind. You dump it here. And then out of that brain dump, you pick 3 that are top priorities, okay? And then everything in the brain dump, the top priorities, you allocate a time block to. And so this is what I do every day. I use Outlook. I don't use a piece of paper like this, but this is how you control and manage your time. And then it feels really good when you check the box, and you can create different systems for yourself. But anyways, out of everything you have to do, you have to prioritize the high value activities that are going to create income and create some winning business scenarios. Now, to manage your time effectively, don't overthink, over research, and over prepare for the call. I know some people, they like do all this research and try to be like the expert about their prospect. Forget all that. Just start with an easy conversation. I'll give you some examples later. But prepare more in that style for an in-person meeting or appointment. You want to, you know, research the building, the area, the company, whatever it is. Do that for an in-person meeting, but for cold calling, make it quick. Okay. You're also going to need to do some skip tracing because sometimes the contact info, it's not on the website. There are different ways to do skip tracing, and that'll be another webinar perhaps if there's some interest. The other thing to do is leverage other salespeople in that company or another employee in another department to get you to the decision maker. So if it's the menu prompt and they're like, do you want sales? Do you want accounting? All this stuff. I usually go for accounting. I tell the accounts payable person who I'm trying to meet, the decision maker, who I would like to get to, and if that person can help me get connected. And usually they're very helpful. The other thing you can do is run a CoStar contacts list if you're looking for property owners. You can sort the list by property owner, property management, listing broker, past owner, many different ways, but you can extract that list. It's basically, I think it comes out in a PDF. I use Adobe Creative Cloud to convert it into an Excel file, and that's what I use to skip trace and to cold call. Another thing you can do is a title company can provide you with a farm list if you give them criteria of buildings of this size in this city, this kind of zoning or hasn't been sold for 30 years, whatever it is, they can provide you with a list to farm. And that's all free. And then there are overseas skip tracing services. Like if you have a huge list, like 2,000, 7,000, you want to maybe engage VA services, virtual assistants from Digsy Inc. There are professional skip tracers on LinkedIn. They charge like 15 cents for a basic skip trace. There's more advanced skip traces, I think, that are like a quarter per name. And then you can find even cheaper services on Fiverr. But prioritize. And the highest value activity is you picking up the phone and dialing those numbers. Okay. All the research in the world is not going to get you a better call. The only call that's going to get you is to make the call and to start talking and to start connecting with these prospects. Now, what we don't realize is you're already cold calling throughout your life. When you're calling for quotes, services, repairs, you're interrupting these companies, asking for information. When you're calling customer service, like your credit card to get refunds or to, you notice fraud on your account, you're doing that. When you're looking for a good medical professional, you're also cold calling. When you're calling other brokers on their listings, you're cold calling in a sense. Okay. Now, I always have the attitude that a hard no is simply a slow yes in disguise. Okay. I always say to myself, no means yes, and yes means yes. And you got to get this into your system. Because if you think about it, the clients that you've worked with, the people that you've helped, because they know you and who you are, they would never reject you. The only reason people reject you is because they're trained to say, no, I'm busy, or we're happy, we're fine, all these things. But people are willing to pay and give you their time if you provide value, but you need to communicate that clearly and succinctly. And one of the things I do is I make a connection first. Sometimes I'll reference their property or I'll say something that could be factual and I'll get the conversation started that way. But I'll kind of give some examples further on. Now, you always want to be succinct and confident, okay? And you want to practice this. This got ingrained into me during my Arthur Andersen days as an auditor because I was trained to speak to C-level executives, CEOs, CFOs, COOs, and they did not mince words. They don't read paragraphs. They like bullet points. So do the same thing over the phone. Introduce yourself, get to the point, be clear about your value add proposition. Like, why are you calling them? What are you offering them, right? They also need to meet you because you've done this for other clients, because you've saved X amount of money, for this one deal or whatever it is. The main thing I do is I smile into the phone, I exude positive energy, and I'm joyful when I'm engaging with them, and they feel that energy over the phone. But if you're calling them depressed, meek, not sure of yourself, not confident, no one's going to want to talk to you. And one of the first things I say to disarm people is I'm not calling about getting a listing. I'm not asking you to sell your property. What I'd like to do is get more information. So there's different angles depending on what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish. Now, a lot of people start cold calling when they get desperate, when their pipeline is empty, they've got no money coming in. What happens is all that desperation comes out, and desperation causes people to run for the hills. So you need to have some ease when you're speaking to people as a true professional, as a local market expert. And since the other people can feel your desperation, you need to think they can also feel my confidence. They can also feel my joy. They can feel my positive energy over that phone. And you won't be able to clearly advise anyone under high pressure to close a sale if your motives are clouded. So I like to free myself. I'm a believer in not having debt, like just managing your finances so you don't have that financial pressure and you're pushing someone into a deal that isn't a right fit for them. So clear all that out and just have an open heart and an open slate to help the other person. Now, what is fanatical prospecting? It's really simple. There's a 30-day rule. Activities that you do today affects the results 30 days from now. So it's kind of like sowing and reaping. Think about all the deals that you're closing now. Think back. What did you do to get this deal? How did you seed or invest your time to get to this point where you're now closing a deal, whether it be a lease transaction, sale transaction, whatever. And then the law of replacement, people will fall out. If you have to constantly fill that pipeline with new prospects so that you can even out the cycle of feast or famine. I don't know if you can completely avoid it, but anyway, you need to feed that pipeline. So if I look back at most of my years in commercial real estate, I'm chasing about 75, 80 deals, maybe 6 to 18 deals close. You know, that's the energy that I put out. And then you also have to have balance in your prospecting activities. You know, you have to email, you have to network, you have to create appointments, you have to do so many different things. But one of the most important things is you have to push yourself to make one more call. You know, make a game for yourself, a daily goal list. You know, I'm going to give a challenge at the end with 5 calls a day every morning. But after you do the 5, do another 5, do another 5, you know, just push yourself to make that one more call because that's what's going to set you apart. Now, creating effective messaging. Okay, you need to create something compelling, right? So I'll give you some examples, and the message needs to be relevant. It needs to be personalized to that person. And you need to speak from a mindset of authority and expertise. If you're like, you know, can I help you with your real estate? Can I take a look at and see if you're above market, at market, below market? Like, that's not going to sound too good. But the people that are smooth, that are coming from a place of I am clearly the expert in the market, people are going to want to know what you have to say. Okay. So I'll just give you one example. When I first started at CB Richard Ellis, we had a big listing. It's now the Living Spaces building in La Mirada. I think if I remember correctly, it's like 260,000 square feet. So I was tasked to call different tenants near around that building that, you know, for different reasons. And one of the lines that I gave was I have a property available for lease. The owner of the building asked me to reach out to you to see if this might be a fit. Okay. I mean, I didn't have a sit down. I was like the most junior person on the team. But if you say that, that's compelling. That means another property owner wanted you to call me. That makes people really feel special, right? So I used to do that. Another angle I used was when I was looking for new listings in the industrial side, I would call people and just say, hey, I drove by your property, or I noticed there are a lot of cars or a lot of pallets outside. Are you looking to move anytime soon? Or if they have too much room in their parking area, I say, it looks like you have a lot of space. Are you looking to sublease any portion of that and create some cash flows for your business? Okay. Now, when I used to call, there was a certain season in my life where I was focused on sale leasebacks. I would call building owners where there was owner occupied. And I'm like, I would ask them, do you know there's a lot of value in your real estate that's locked up? And would you like to unlock that value and inject that money into your business and use it as working capital? And so sometimes that's a compelling message. So it all depends on what you're trying to do, and not every message will match the recipient of your call, but it's okay because they might say, no, I've already done that, or, you know, I'm getting ready to retire. You're going to pick up tidbits of information, which could help you in a future deal scenario. So just know that not every call is going to go according to plan. You're going to hear objections. You got to be ready for them. You got to be nimble. Okay. But speak from a mindset of authority, create a compelling message that would pique someone's interest. Another thing that I used to do is like, I'm sure if I catch a CFO, I'm sure you're really busy. What are the top 5 biggest headaches that you have right now? Can we explore and see if I can help you removing some of those burdens? You know, people want help. And when you come from a place of offering help, it's compelling and they will give you time. Now, the 4 objectives of prospecting, you've got to set clear objectives. And one of them is setting appointments. The whole point of the call is to meet them in person. Okay. Before you get off the phone, assume and expect that they would want to work with you. Okay. So this is called the assumptive close. After you get them talking, after it feels like, you know, 80% it's a quasi fit, they might need your services. just be like, how does Wednesday work for you? Wednesday, 10 a.m. And then they could be like, no, can you come Friday? And I've had calls that were like, can you come today? Can you come at 10 a.m.? I called at 9. They're like, can you come at 10 a.m.? I'm like, sure, let me just do a couple things and I'll be there. So setting appointments is the main thing. Face-to-face time is going to get you the deal. It's going to build trust. It's going to build your relationship. The other thing you want to do is qualify leads. Okay. Not every call is a client. Okay. Some of them, the criteria or the service that you're offering is not going to be a fit. The timing's not going to be right, or they're so happy with their broker. They just signed a 5-year lease. They're happy where they're at. No changes upcoming. But if you hear, we just signed a 5-year lease. Oh, when was that? And then they'll be like, oh, it was just in June. Now you know, okay, so 4.5 years from now, it's time to call them or follow up with them and see if there's an opportunity to relocate them or renew them. Okay, so you want to qualify leads if it fits into your scenario of your service offering. The other thing is information gathering. Sometimes it relates to the prospect that you're talking to. Sometimes they're giving you information on their friends, their neighbors, other property owners that they know of that might need your help. So get all the details and get who the ultimate decision maker is. Okay. And then I'm all about building relationships. If I look at my 20+ year commercial real estate career, I don't have many clients, but the clients that I do have in my pool, I've worked with them since the beginning. And so multiple transactions over and over, and there's never a beauty pageant. And that's because I seed the relationship. I care about them beyond the deal closure date. There's so many tour jockeys out there. They just want the one-off. They want the commission. As soon as they get their commission, they don't answer phone calls. They're not there for the after close problems. Okay. So I'm all about, I need you to be happy with the building, happy with everything, even after you get the keys. So this is really important. Okay. Now, if you guys have any questions you'd like to ask.
Jamie, this is Tim Goslin in San Diego.
Hey, Tim.
Hi, Jamie. Could you go over the messaging portion again?
Yeah.
What have you had really good experience with in the past?
Oh, so it depends on what kind of deal or what my focus is at the time. Let me ask you this so I can create a compelling message for you. What is your service offering right now? Like what kind of clients are you trying to meet
Property owners on the agent.
on the agency side? So is it office, industrial?
Industrial and flex.
Okay, industrial and flex. Now, do you have a case study or a success story that you can share with them or a
Many.
comp? Okay, so you have many. So I would create one of those, and when I call them, ding, 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 hi, are you the property owner at such and such, right? And then I would introduce myself. My name is Tim Goslin. I am a broker in the area, and I wanted to introduce myself. I've helped a lot of other clients in this one aspect and would like to explore the possibility of helping you. And you just shut up. And then let them talk and let them kind of interact with you. So you have to take one snippet and like so I just like in 2022, I did a sublease transaction. It was industrial flex and the lease contract was $15,000 a month in rent. I brought in a tenant paying $39,000 a month in rent, so above market. Okay. So that is a story that I called like other office building owners or tenants, for my results. And I'm kind of showing off and showcasing what I've done for somebody else. Can I do the same for you? That could be compelling. So pick a case study, pick a success point. Another thing that I did was my client, I helped him buy an office building in Diamond Bar. It's been fully leased, it's been going well, but he was in a jam. He had to do a refi and he had to renew 3 tenants. So he got me to approach them. And this is office, and office is tanking right now, right? So I pulled 3 miracles out of the hat. I got 3 tenants to renew and sign up for 5 to 8 year lease renewals. And then I got 1 tenant to double his space. So I stabilized the building, and because I stabilized it, we got an incredible refi on the building. instead of getting a very low valuation on the building, we got close to what he paid for. So I was able to get him a refi for 8.1 million. And so that's pretty compelling. I'm sure other office owners would want to know that, you know? So take a case study, turn it into a message, and just say, you're not being pushy. You're just saying, I've done this for my client in the X. I would like to explore if I could do this for you or help you in some other way, you know, but have a specific message to kind of bounce off of. Okay. If you just do something general like, you know, real estate's on fire, industrial is hot, vacancy, da, 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 you give them like all this like phony market knowledge, that's not going to touch them in the heart. You have to touch them, you have to get them engaged to want to give you more time. Does that help, Tim?
Thank you, Jamie. Yes.
Yeah. So it needs to come from the heart. You need to connect with that person over the phone. But be clear. I'm not here to get a listing. I am in the business of helping people. I am in the business. I specialize in helping people uncover cost savings, especially in the industrial realm, especially in flex buildings. Now, you need to tweak that message if they're a tenant, if they're an owner, whatever. But it has to come from the heart. It has to be something that you believe in and something you speak with confidence that you've done. And then there are people that are fresh out of college, right? They don't have any deals under their belt, right? They're like nervous. I don't know anything. I just got my real estate license. Well, I was there too. You know, one of the things, nobody knows you have no experience. Person, you could have 20 years experience. You lean on the senior broker that you're working on, speak from that perspective, or even just look through your life. Have you helped people move? Have you helped people when they were in the hospital? Like, have you helped your friends in some way or family members? And if you've done that, you could be someone great in their life, you know? So yeah, so to make the message compelling, it has to come from the heart. You have to mean what you say and you have to care about people. If you say everything that every other broker says, can I get your, can I get a meeting with you? I want to get your listing, or I could lease your property. I've got like 10 different tenants. That's going to sound fake. You know, people want something real. They want genuine interest and someone to care about them. When I worked at CB Richard Ellis, these teams would do all these presentations with like all of their close deals. And you know what? The clients don't care about that. They care about how are you going to help them alleviate their burdens or remove headaches. Okay. So you need to focus on them. And your messaging might not be a fit for that client, but you need to pivot when they say, oh, you know, we're fine with that. We're, you know, or like, we love our broker. We've been doing business with them for 20 years. Compliment the broker. And then, you know, on the back end, send the broker a nice message. Hey, I ran into your client. They said great things about you. I thought you ought to know. And then when people have successes on LinkedIn, I'm kind of a LinkedIn nerd where I like to celebrate other people's successes, you know, and then people are also posting on LinkedIn, like different deals that they've closed and done. You can get business on LinkedIn. You can reach out to them with like a compelling message on LinkedIn that you can do something similar. Or if they have or if you know they have a property in a certain area in your market, you could say the same messaging on LinkedIn, but make it be meaningful, succinct, and make it count. Make the words count. And all of your cold calls, when you introduce yourself, you connect, all that stuff, do it in 30 seconds or less. 30 seconds is actually a long time. I try and do it in like 15, 20 seconds. If you're verbose, if you talk slow, you're going to irritate the other person. So think about your messaging, practice it, rewrite it, use ChatGPT to make it more efficient, okay, make it sound better, and then practice it so it comes out naturally. Just the way that you would explain what you do when you're at a networking event. This is the same thing. The only thing is it's over the phone. And when people reject you, don't take it personally. They could have gotten yelled at. They could have had a fight with their wife, their husband. Okay. A huge client could have just canceled a big order with them. So all kinds of upheaval is going on in their life. So when they reject your offering, don't take it personally. Just move on and just think, not my client. Next. And then get yourself back up, get yourself into that joyful place, and then start dialing again. But don't make it seem like they're attacking your character. They don't even know you. And who cares if they reject you? You never, unless you create an appointment, you're really not going to see them. So it's not going to matter. And the more you cold call, the more comfortable you will get with the messaging, with yourself, and you're going to do great. I don't have special cold calling DNA. Okay. It's not like in my Korean roots. I mean, I don't even come from a real estate family. My dad was a custom tailor in Beverly Hills, and my mom was a sample maker. Okay. But looking back on my dad's life, when he first came to this country with like $300, he was trying to make a way for himself. He foot canvassed to look for a job, so maybe that part I have, but there's no special cold calling DNA. It's just, you just do it. Any other questions?
Yeah, question. This is Al, Jamie. I have a question for you.
Hi, Al.
Hi.
Sure.
So, the earlier you mentioned that the don't spend the time researching the property or the sites,
Yeah.
but doesn't that turn a cold call into a warm call and has a better chance of connecting with the client?
It does. You have to balance it, So if you do land, right, Al?
Right, correct.
So when you're calling on a property, at least know the boundaries and the streets, the cross streets, like if there's no address and it's like an APN number, do that much research, but you don't have to go too deep, right? It's just
Yeah,
not a simple call.
right. I don't. I basically I just do basic research. It takes, maybe a couple of minutes. How big
Yeah.
is the parcel, where it's located, when was it purchased, how much they paid for it, and what's going on in surrounding the parcel, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's quite a lot. I don't even do that much. I
Oh,
just have my specific offering and I get to it. I get to it. When I call for developers, their land parcels, their farms, their family-owned properties, I'm trying to get to the decision maker, and my thing is very clear. Sometimes I don't even do the research. He's got a Google link of like where it is. I don't even do all that. I just start dialing. And my hit ratio is if I get a list of 150 property owners, like 89, 95% will say yes and be open to a call with the developer.
oh, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so don't research too much. I mean, I would save the research for the in-person meeting, and then you can impress them with that knowledge that you went deep. But for the cold call, just have a specific offering about yourself, introduce yourself, be succinct, and come from a point of, hey, I want to help you. Can I help you?
Okay, you got it.
Yeah, make it simple. Don't overthink, because so many people plan, prepare, and then it's 4:30. Oh my gosh, people are leaving. It's a cold call. No one's gonna be at their office, right? But you know what? I cold call up until 7:30 p.m. There are CFOs and CEOs and COOs sitting there, and they will pick up the phone. I will leave voicemails. Some people say don't leave voicemails. I'm succinct, I'm short, I'm brief. I say my number twice. They call me back.
Jamie, how many calls did
What's
you usually a day when you do your prospecting?
So when I do a project, I sometimes I spend 8 to 10 hours calling. And certain calls take me, well, there's also skip tracing involved when I'm doing these. So I have to find out the contact info. I only get the APN number, the acreage, whatever the person's name may be sometimes. So some of them take me 5 minutes, most of them take me 20 minutes to do the skip tracing part. But to make the call, it's just like a couple minutes. And then some of the research, when it's an LLC over an LLC over an LLC, when I go down that rabbit hole, sometimes one call, the research on that could take me 8 hours, but I'm trying to get contact information because it wasn't given to me. So that's part of my service for the developers. But I could do cold calling 8 to 10 hours straight.
Well, how do you build a stamina like this?
It's called grinding.
Yes. Jamie,
Grind.
Jamie, with that being said, what service do you use to do your skip tracing or trying to find emails and actual numbers?
So the way some of these the projects come into me, they're farm lists from a title company, right? They've got an APN number. I go to the property profile through the title company. I bring it down. What is the mailing address of all the tax statements that are going there? I do a reverse search on Google to see if I can locate the address of the person or the company. And if it's like an office building with like multiple law firms, I'm not going to get very far. But if there's something resourceful about me too, where I just have a sixth sense of where it's going to go. And then I'm able to narrow it down. And then let's say, they're having their tax statements sent to like a law firm or a CPA. I go to the law firm CPA website, and then I find the emails of their attorneys or the people that work there. And I'm like, hi, I'm looking to connect with the property owner of such and such property. Do you work with this client? And then they'll reply, yes, that is our client. What are you looking for? So there is a level of persistence. There is a level of grind, and you just have to sit there and do it. It's not fun. What's fun is finding out that they could be your client and actually closing a deal and then making some money. That's what makes it fun. Okay. The rejections, the getting yelled at, that's not fun. Okay. I don't have a special layer of Teflon on my skin and heart that makes me different. It's, sometimes they're like, I told you never to call me. I'm like, this is the first time I'm calling you, sir. Like, so sometimes they've been harassed by other brokers. So whatever, I just say, I hang up the phone, I try and end it nicely, and I'm like, next, on to the next call. I mean, think about things that you do every day, things that like are uncomfortable, If you're willing to do that, you can do this. This is like so much easier than some of those hard things that you've done in your life. And just from a personal space, I actually was faced with acute kidney failure in 2021. So I landed in the hospital. I was 2 days away from my death. I had sepsis, infected kidneys, blocked ureter, all that stuff. I was a hot mess, right? The resilience in me got me out of that medical situation. And I don't know, I'm always hopeful and optimistic. So even if I've been turned down by 10 people, I just think the next one, this is going to be right. This is going to be a fit. And it's like a spirit of resilience, I guess, that keeps me going. And if it makes you happy, get like a hot coffee, a cappuccino, jasmine tea to make it better. I don't know. But I do use a headset too. I don't like put the cell phone because I like to type and take notes while they're talking to me. So that's another aspect of my cold calling. And then the other thing is that I do is, this is from an audit perspective and audit background. I was taught that people need to pick up exactly where you left off in case you get hit by a bus, you get sick, whatever. So I document. So as soon as the call is over, just so that I can free myself, free my mind, I document and I email the developer. This is what they said. This is the opportunity. Here's what we're going to do next, right? And then even while you have the person on the phone, think of next steps. Would you mind if I stopped by and met with you for 15 minutes? Never say you're going to meet them for half an hour, 45 minutes. No one's going to give you that time. But 15 minutes, people will be like, oh, yeah, sure. Always get your foot in the door with a very short offering. Any other questions? We've got about 12 minutes left.
Do you do any drip campaigns or any automations and stuff like that?
Well, I've used Constant Contact and MailChimp, and I got caught or dinged because they were like, where are you getting these leads? I guess there was like a high rejection rate through email. So I am kind of unusual. I send a lot of emails individually. And it's just been my habit.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just do copy and paste and I send out the same message, but you just need to edit it to make it customized to that next person. Any other thoughts, questions, feedback?
Hi, Jamie, this is Emma.
Can you hear me? Oh,
Hi, Emma, welcome.
Thank you.
Is your camera off? I can't see you.
Oh, okay.
Let me see.
Oh, this is a video is not on.
Okay.
Can you see me now?
Yeah.
Hi. So,
Hi, Emma.
prospecting, thanks for the information. Prospecting by cold call. So I was thinking about door knocking, like going through the industrial
Mhm.
complex and go to
Yeah.
the business and talk to the tenant or hopefully owner user. What do you think about those methodology compared to
So
comment on the comparison with cold call?
every different method to reach people is great. And I was a heavy foot canvasser when I first started at CB Richard Ellis. They would send me into an industrial zone and say, get all these business cards, talk to the decision maker, whatever. The best day to foot canvas is on a hot day when you're sweating. People will feel sorry for you and they'll give you a bottle of water and you drink the water slowly. Okay, don't guzzle it. Drink it slowly and ask them questions. Ask them what you're trying to do and who you're trying to meet, and they will have pity on you and they will give you time. Okay. When I go into an industrial building foot canvassing, I don't do it anymore because of my knees. But I would just say, hi, my name is Jamie Kim. I'm a broker in the area. I'd like to meet the office manager or the general manager of this business. And they're like, well, what are you looking for? And I'm like, I specialize in, and I go into my elevator pitch. And if they say, no, he's busy or he's out of town, can I get his card? Can I leave you my card? And then I always have a brochure, like my resume brochure, like one page, and a business card, like paper clipped together, and I leave it. So you want to leave a leaf behind.
Mm-hmm.
But go on a hot date. It will impress people, your work ethic.
Okay, thank you.
And then you could get their mercy and get a little bit more time with them.
Okay.
Yeah, and I wish you luck. Anything else, you guys?
Thank you.
Hi,
Okay,
Jamie,
then
I
I'm
have a
gonna.
question.
Who is this?
This is Michael Chen.
Oh, hi.
Hi. So earlier you mentioned that when you weren't not able to identify someone to connect with, you would contact accounts payable to see if they could connect you with someone. And I was wondering why that is. Is it because your initial value proposition was cost savings, or is it because you feel that accounts payable knows all the decision makers?
Well, it's a combination of things, but number one, they're usually there working late and grinding. And they will pick up the phone. So accounting departments and sales departments will pick up the phone. And if you talk to the sales department, they will have mercy on you. They'll be like, I know what that's all about here. You should talk to this person. This is the guy that's actually in charge of that. But that's why. And I think it's my accounting finance background. You know, I used to do accounts payable. I used to do collections. I used to be the VP of finance at a credit union. I did SEC report filings. I did audit. I did all of that. So I think it's just something near and dear to my heart. So really, that's the only reason. They're working late. They will pick up the phone or respond to a voicemail.
Would you use that for your value proposition when you're trying to find a new assignment and you did those additional tasks as a broker?
What do you mean the additional task?
Like you said, you're a bookkeeper, you're managing books and stuff. Would you use that part?
So
Or
I just let people know I have financial understanding. So in the beginning, when I was doing tenant rep, I had a lot of tenants that like they didn't really have good financial history or their financial package was weak. So using my accounting knowledge, I was able to push the deal forward and say that it's an accounting loss. It's not a real event loss to the business. And so I was able to convince landlords to take this on So I use it in such a way, but I don't market myself as an accountant or CPA because I'm not. But that's how I would like kind of dovetail my experience that way. Use anything that you have, any way that you've helped people. People are always open to help. No one's going to reject you if you're offering help. You know, and just realize like there's something special about you. There's something special within you and something that you've done for other clients that you can replicate. And all this person needs to do is give you 15 minutes of their time for a face-to-face meeting. And then you've got a higher chance, I would say 80 to 90% chance of getting them into a deal. That's why foot canvassing is great. But cold calling in a short snap of 1 to 2 hours, you can reach so many more people than foot canvassing. But foot canvassing, you can pick up details like there's not enough parking for their employees. They need to level up and go to a bigger building. There are pallets outside, or they're bringing all their inventory out on a daily basis because there's nowhere for the forklifts to go. You know, like you can pick up visual information as you're foot canvassing that you wouldn't be able to do as a cold call. It's just cold call is just more efficient. In an hour or 2 hours, you can hit so many more people. So your likelihood of qualifying prospects, getting an appointment, and closing a deal just goes up with cold calling, significantly higher. In the same 1 to 2 hours, if I foot canvas, depending on the size of the industrial buildings, I could hit maybe 10 or 12. But cold calling, I could hit so many more. Frank, do you have a question?
Hey, Jamie.
I have
Hi. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, Frank. Hey, good to see you. It's been a while.
I know. Good to see you. I know that I've been in and out. I've been on the phone dealing with clients, but I just have a brief question. What is your take on overall how you track how the industry is going, and where do you get your data to see if you're going to pivot your business or your cold calling to be able to shift? For example, you mentioned earlier, we knew that that office space is not the sweetheart, obviously. What do you actually do? And if that's part one of my question. And second part, and if you do you have different sources of where you get your data in order to attract a different type of clientele?
Oh, okay. So my data sources are firm lists from the title companies. They are also the CoStar contacts report that you can pull if you have a CoStar membership. It could be a news article, and then I just Google their company's website. And then that gets me going, that gets me started. It could be a referral or a nugget of information from somebody that is a lender, that is an escrow officer, that knows a little something. So I just have different sources. And then what was the other part of your question?
Well, the number one was obviously how to track the businesses, how the industry is doing overall, and once you decide that there's a pivot in the business or the industry, where are your sources where you end up getting your database in order to attract or canvas, or should I say calling that clientele base?
Okay, there's a lot to your question. I think we could do something offline, but for the benefit of everybody, I would just keep it simple. I wouldn't be like overly like strategic in economic analysis. If you have a deal comp that is specific, unusual, unique, I would open up the cold call with that. But for the purposes of this webinar, I would say just keep it simple. The main thing is to start dialing. Okay. So Frank, I'm happy to answer more questions if you want to follow up with me email or separately, we could do a Zoom, something like that. But anyway, if you have a heartbeat, your fingers aren't broken, you speak English, I want you to cold call, okay? Make 5 calls a day in the AM golden hour, 10 to 12, but afternoon is fine. Evenings are fine. Just don't call past 8 p.m. That's kind of rude. Follow up with an email after you have the call. Create detailed notes and always focus on your next steps to push the deal forward, or just next steps. You don't want to be hanging in like a status quo. It's got to be moving the ball forward.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you, Frank, for that question. So basically that's it for the webinar portion. I'm with SoCal CCIM. This is their website. This is my contact info. You can call me, email me. I will do my best to field your questions. You'll probably be getting a survey also. If you have thoughts on other things you wanted to learn, the thing that's on my heart next for a webinar is how to network effectively. I feel like we need to teach people on what to do, what is the objective when you go to a networking meeting. So that might be next, but I'm open to your suggestions of what you want to discuss, another book maybe, but we'll send you a survey for that. And then that's it for this portion of the webinar. But I would like to go over a few admin things related to the SoCal CCIM chapter. We have a lot of great sponsors. We're having a special strategic offsite event honoring the sponsors, honoring certain board members that's happening at an event September 6th, and it's invitation only. So if you're looking to get more involved in the chapter, reach out to me. This is our SoCal CCIM Board of Directors. You can reach out to any of them with any question that you have. We are here to help you, to serve you. So you can go to our website and find their contact information. You can also contact Louisa, the chapter admin, but everybody here has so much experience, so much knowledge, and we can help you. This is just membership benefits. Nita is in charge of memberships, and so she's a great person to connect with. If you're interested in joining our board, helping out on a committee, definitely reach out to me. We do have a special lunch and learn coming up August 6th. We have 8 tickets left. It's almost a sold out event. If anybody here would like to purchase a ticket for a guest or whatever today, I would be willing to raffle off a half-hour one-on-one tutorial. So if you can come to this, if you want to register with Louisa, scan the QR code or reach out to Louisa Higgins, our admin. This would be great to see you. And then there will be a half-hour opportunity for a one-on-one. Tim Goslin already reached out to me, so he's got one, but I'm willing to raffle off another half-hour to anybody looking to come to this. We also have, this is a sold out event, August 22nd, Del Mar Race Day. And this is going to be really exciting. It's my first time at Del Mar, so I'm looking forward to seeing everyone there. There is a dress code, so you have to come dressed up. We also have CI 104 coming up in October. And so we are hosting this. I believe the location is going to be in Anaheim. Yeah, I think it's going to be in Anaheim. So we'll look forward to seeing all the CI 103 students there. And so that's pretty much it. I hope everybody got something out of it. I hope I inspired you that cold calling is doable. It's not a special skill. It's presenting yourself in a clear, succinct manner that's compelling and that touches people's hearts. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for sharing your lunch hour with me. I feel very honored to have this time together with you. So have a blessed day, have a prosperous week, and go get them. Okay, make those 5 calls a day and then tell me all about it, how it's going.